The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
You reached the Benjamin Dixon Show voicemail. Leave your message and we'll respond live on air.
Hi, Ben. This is Ryan from next door, South Carolina. Just first want to say I'd like to apologize for 2016 spreading the Dem Exit hashtag, and if I convinced anybody or you to leave the Democrats and go somewhere else here in 2016, I'd like to apologize for that because I made a mistake, and I also made a mistake, and this is another apology, for convincing some people and voting for Jill Stein. So I'd like to apologize for that, and I think I do agree with you. I know I agree with you that we need to vote for the Democratic nominee. My personal choices, number one would be Elizabeth Warren, number two would be Bernie. So I think we do need to look at them, and we need to make sure they're strong, but we don't need to tear everybody else down and go from there. But anyway, I just want to thank you for your show. Keep doing the good work, and calling in because you said you want to do a Friday calls-only show, and I think I know why you don't like Tulsi. She's a Republican. I mean, she says she's a Democrat, but everything about her screams Republican to me, and that's the only thing I can think of. Anyway, keep doing the good work, and I will keep Patreoning you. Thanks. Bye.
Welcome to Phone Call Friday. I honestly did not plan on Ryan being the first phone call, but it actually ended. I mean, I love the way you ended that call. I will keep doing the work, and thank you for keep Patreoning me. So listen, I think it is an amazing thing that anyone could admit when they were wrong about something. Now you're going to have people who absolutely disagree with you, Ryan, and feel like that, you know, you shouldn't feel like you were wrong for voting for Jill Stein. You know, and depending on the makeup of the voting situation in your state, like what was the makeup, that would really determine whether or not you're wrong. I don't recall South Carolina being that much in play, but I'm really foggy on the 2016 electoral results. But that's neither here nor there. The thing is like, I seriously admire you being willing to say that if that's what you believe, like, and really, you know, take an assessment of how we all behaved in 2016. And listen, it's one of those things where, and I'm actually writing something about this now. It's one of those things where sometimes making the right moral choice, which you stand by, like everyone should have the right to literally vote for whoever they want to vote for, whether it was Jill Stein or whatever. No one should feel bound to the Democratic Party under any circumstances if the Democratic Party isn't serving them. Right? Those are the true moral statements, right? Those are unequivocally true. Period. End of discussion. And I want everyone to feel and always maintain that autonomy, right? That's what keeps us from being automatons, drones, just kind of following what anyone tells us. But at the same time, there are certain intersections in life, certain crossroads that we pass where doing the moral thing and the right thing does not yield the results that you would hope for. That is also a true statement that it's just a part of life. And so, you know, what do you do when you make the right decision and you make the right decision based on you? You know what I mean? There's no one who can tell you who you should vote for and you should feel compelled to do that. No, your moral free will, your autonomy, your free agency says that you can vote for whoever you want to vote for. But then the results, we can't control the outcome. Like I've made some decisions. I've made some personal decisions, some professional decisions over the last few years that for all intents and purposes, you know, did not work out the way that I planned. But I would make that same decision again. And that's because it was the right choice to make. Now, I may be confusing you, but I just want to say, listen, it takes a lot for a person to admit when they feel like they've done something wrong. Right. But then also I want you to always feel like, you don't have to do anything but stay black and die. And I don't even know if you're black. All right. Actually, I think I do know you, Ryan, now that I think about it, but you guys know what I mean. So there's, and I don't mean to wax so philosophical off the rip, right? But sometimes you have to make a choice that is a moral right decision that's best for you, and you do it. But the outcome is Donald Trump. And so here's the thing. We don't have to make that same choice again. 2020 is around the bend. We need to just get rid of Donald Trump. We need to get rid of Donald Trump, and we need to do so as much as we possibly can by pushing America towards the left. It's interesting that you put Elizabeth Warren first and Bernie Sanders second. I would think that a person who was like dim exit would be Bernie Sanders first, so that's fascinating. But again, it's totally everyone's free will, free agency, to do what they want to do. I'm just going to try to encourage all of you. 2020, let's vote this orange Julius looking authoritarian wannabe Caesar out of office. Next voicemail.
Hey, this is Sam calling from Stockbridge, Georgia. Want to talk about the situation with Greta Thunberg. I mean, I think she's a great girl and what she did, because I have Asperger's, and I think what she's doing is really great. I'm just wondering, what's your opinion on the right-wing people and the trolls that are attacking her? Because I feel like it's been really sad. But
you got caught off there at the end, Sam, but thank you so much for the call. Stockbridge, Georgia. That's not far from me, obviously. Greta Thunberg, she is an amazing young woman, 16-year-old, who is doing an amazing thing. And quite frankly, I believe she deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. Simply because of the size of the movement that she's been able to galvanize around saving the planet. She does it with Asperger's. And, I think that makes it that much more significant because of what she has to overcome in order to put herself out there like that. I mean, just think about the normal level of anxiety, that we deal with every single day, just regular life, normal life, right? Now think about the anxiety that someone would get being on an international stage like that, on literal stage and platforms, speaking to tens of thousands of people at any given moment, and then being on the platforms where you speak to millions of people across the entire planet, right? Imagine the anxiety. Now compound that with someone who's dealing with Asperger's syndrome. I think that's what makes her even more phenomenal, is the fact that she's able to rise above all of the normal things that cause anxiety, right? And then excel into this place of like standing in front of thousands and hundreds of thousands, millions of people through, online and television, and then dealing with that. I mean, that's anxiety inducing anyway. And the fact that she's able to accomplish it all at such a young age, right? She's able to fight, and she's having to. Let's get to your question, though. Your point was, like, what do I think about the right wing? Think about what she's having to do at 16 years old, fighting against an entire movement of conservatism and right wing propaganda, being the target, being called mentally ill, being called a left-wing hack, saying her parents should be ashamed of her, all because this young woman is trying to save the planet, right? Save the planet might be an old-fashioned cliche, but that's literally what she's trying to do. There is no planet B. There's no plan B. This is all we have. And I know for her, it has to be absolutely absurd that what she's trying to do is to bring attention and to get us to actually do something about climate change so we don't all die. And then she has so many people fighting against her. I mean, like their lives depended on it. It's amazing that we have people fighting as hard to destroy the planet as we do people fighting to preserve the planet. That is so absurd. It actually, that's one of the most ridiculous things that I've ever seen in my lifetime. And that's something that she's grappling with and fighting against at the age of 16. Okay, next voicemail.
Good evening, Benjamin. This is Demetrius Hicks from Greenville, North Carolina. I was calling about what you're saying here on right now on the live feed right now about Trump and Kim's relationship. And I kind of have a theory in that respect that Trump knows that he isn't ever going to give up his weapons. He means he being Kim, but he doesn't want to act on it just yet because he wants to keep it in his back pocket in the event that something does happen negative or where he can take a war hot. So, for instance, he may say in the next few months that, hey, if enough pressure is on him electorally that he'll just launch a war. Maybe that's a conspiracy theory, but I really feel like that may possibly be a thing that Trump is doing. I don't really think he cares enough about that relationship in order to continue to be embarrassed by it. So it has to be some other motive behind why he's not taking any action in respect to military or diplomatically or et cetera, et cetera. And that doesn't mean that I want him to take action either. I'm just trying to figure out why he's letting him pop off weapons or missiles and all that stuff like that, and continue to say that Kim is a nice guy. So maybe you can explore that idea, and I'll be willing to hear it on the show. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's an interesting perspective. So you're saying that you believe that President Trump is keeping that situation kind of in limbo, so that if he ever needs to strike, he would have, not only would he have looked like measured, right? Okay, let's play this out. Let me set it up in case people didn't understand the voicemail clearly. So what the caller is saying is that President Trump's relationship with Kim Jong-un is actually one of opportunism, that ultimately he's keeping that relationship in limbo, that at any point he decides to pull the trigger, he can look as though he has been patient. He will look as though he's been extremely moderate. And he did not approach North Korea with any type of bellicosity. I think you're giving Trump a little too much credit, to be honest with you. But if I were in that position, that's the level of political Machiavellianism that I love. Like that's brilliant, actually, to say that, okay, I'm going to be friends with this guy because if and when the time comes that I have to drop the hammer on him, it would appear to the entire world that I was the reasonable one. Yeah, I mean, honestly, and you couple that with the fact that Donald Trump needs a war right now. I mean, with everything that's happening, the best way for him to get out of this situation with the impeachment inquiry is for him to find a war to get us into. And so what better war than the person that he's pretended to be friends with all this time, and he can go underneath the guise of being reasonable and rational. I think that is one of those things that we have to put into the calculus. I don't think we have to really I don't think it's necessary to think of that as a conspiracy theory. I think of that as if you are a political strategist, particularly one that's trying to game out how things are going to play out on the international stage, then part of your job is to consider the ridiculous. And I don't even think that this falls into the realm of ridiculous. I think this falls into the realm of one of those things that we need to calculate. In fact, I'll put it like this. Chairman Kim is calculating the exact same thing. He's calculating that Donald Trump is cozying up to him simply to make it easier in the future for him to attack him. That's the level of planning that has to go into any political strategy. If you don't plan for every eventuality, every reasonable eventuality, then you're going to get caught with your pants down on the international stage. All right, let's take a pause for the calls, and then when we come back, we'll hit another voicemail.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
And as always, at this part of the show, I like to take a minute to thank our patrons. I really, seriously, guys, it makes a difference. And it gives us the ability to purchase new equipment, to do all sorts of things that we need to do. So thank you to every single one of you who is a patron. You get ad-free versions of this, and you got the bonus show yesterday, and anything bonus, anything that I just think of as like when I finish this project that I'm working on, I can't tell you a whole lot about it, but it's not like the last project I worked on. I'm working on a book that I've been working on for a very long time. It's a series of short stories. The very first people who are going to get it will be patrons. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to give a free copy to all the patrons when it's done, because You rock with me, I'm going to rock with you. Okay. Now, that being said, special thank you to David B. for becoming a patron. Special thank you to Thomas S. for becoming a patron. Special thank you to Teresa F. for becoming a patron. You three came on board yesterday, and I am really grateful for each and every one of you. Okay, let's get to voicemails. Here we go.
Hey, Ben, this is AJ from California. Big fan of the show. I was calling in regards to you mentioning the culture war between the left and the right in America. And one of the things that I've been having in terms of the conversations and the trajectory of conversations with other progressive outlets has been what the left needs to do in order to win that culture war, considering that one side is operating under bad faith optics and simultaneously provides a consistent advantage monetarily. And so one of the things that I've been saying is that we need to simultaneously argue against them without ceding ground and be unapologetic. But the thing that I have not been able to necessarily decipher is how we can get over that significant monetary advantage that's led to the de-radicalization of quite a few individuals. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on that, and I appreciate this in advance.
Can I just say that I absolutely love my callers and my listeners. I think I'm confident that people who rock with the Progressive Army and the Benjamin Dixon Show are probably the most, not probably, 100% the smartest audience out of all the audiences. I'm serious, because the nuance of your questions, they really help us to think deeper and to challenge us. So first of all, thank you, AJ, for the voicemail. Thank you for setting it up and breaking it apart, dismantling it so we can take it piece by piece. There is the first part, which is to not cede an inch to these people. Not an inch. I don't think people understand just how important the culture wars are. They are so important that the Republicans have poured millions, if not billions of dollars into winning it actually, it's going to be billions when you think about PragerU invested $4 million in advertising this year alone on Facebook alone. About the same, I think it's $2 million for Ben Shapiro. That's just on advertising, just on Facebook. So if you take those two groups and you take all the other conservative groups and you look at what they're spending not only on Facebook, but they're spending on YouTube, and they're spending in just other advertising mediums. And then that's not even including staff and equipment and set and support staff and payroll. And they are investing billions of dollars into the culture war. So I want people to understand how important the culture wars are. If you see your rival pouring billions of dollars into one category, then it would behoove us to be prepared to fight them in that category, whether we think it's important or not. Now, you're going to find most people of color, most people from the LGBTQ community and those intersections thereof, you're going to find us realizing or yelling at the top of our lungs, not realizing, we're trying to tell everyone at the top of our lungs that these fights absolutely matter. These fights matter because we're on the front lines of the receiving end of all of their anti-LGBTQ rights, all their anti-people of color rhetoric and immigration policies and vilification of black people. We're on the front line of being those targets. And so it's really good and refreshing to hear people who understand the significance of the culture wars. Billions are being poured into it against us. So we should. Okay, so here's the other part of your conversation. I got to get a new chair. My chair makes so much noise, and I don't even care anymore. I used to edit out the noise of my chair. I don't even do it. Okay. Here's the second part. How do we make up that money disadvantage? I'm going to be honest with you. Well, I can't be as honest as I would like, but there's money out here on the left. And one of the things that we miss is the opportunity to get that money from the billionaires on the left. Listen, we are really good at collecting money from you all, the people, but that's not enough money. And I've said this, it's not enough money to fight back against conservatism. And people, last time I did a show about it, and people are like, oh, you're just trying to make an excuse for you to sell out and take big donor money. I'm like, okay, well, first of all, I'm not running a campaign. I'm not running for anything. Second of all, we are at a structural disadvantage because we do not have billionaires pouring billions. I was going to say trillionaires pouring billions into our media. That's not because our media isn't entertaining. It's not because our media isn't compelling. It's not because our media is any less necessary. In fact, it's more necessary. It's simply because we have not cultivated that. We have not worked that. And we really, we have to start doing that. We have to start finding the billionaires who believe in social justice, the billionaires who believe and of course their fear is always going to be that we're going to advocate for raising taxes on them. But you know what? There's some billionaires who are like, okay, we need to have our taxes raised. And so we need to have viable businesses. First of all, we need to make sure that everyone who has a show and everyone who has a network, we're presenting a viable business, right? First, we make sure that their investment is not going to get thrown away and blown away, right? So we got to make sure that we're doing good business first and foremost. As we're doing our content, we have to be engaging in good business practices. Creating the content that we tell people we're going to create, getting it out, disseminating it as far and wide as we can, have a profit model, if nothing else. And I know we're kind of getting into the minutia, but this is how I answer your question. We have to have good business models. Then secondly, we have to go out and pursue big dollars. We have to, because we're going up against a machine that is well oiled. And just all they have to do is put in a certain amount of dollars and out pops a Candace Owens. They put in a certain amount of dollars and out pops a Ben Shapiro. Someone please tell me, who is the Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens of the left? The most we have are Chapo Trap House. That's it. And they are not on the stage like Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro, not because they couldn't be. They have a following that rivals it, obviously, but that's just the way that they approach it. They're not going to be the ones that are appearing on CNN or MSNBC or Fox News or something like that. You know what I mean? But I digress. Okay, I hope in all of that you found the answer that you were looking for. But most of all, I want to thank you for being concerned about the culture wars, because the culture wars matter. Hey, yo, can you turn me up? Turn me up. Yeah. Listen. I've got no sense whatsoever. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to do that every time I play that interlude. I don't know, but I had to do it at least one more time. All right. Next voicemail.
Hello, Mr. Dixon. My name is Avery. I'm from, I'd prefer if you bleep my last name. I'm from Central Maine. I am a trans woman, and one of the things that I've always appreciated about your show and content is how open you are about how you had to learn to grow out of homophobia and other bigoted beliefs against the LGBT community that you once held. It's important for me and other people like me to hear those kind of stories, because it lets us know that people can change and get better and become accepting, affirming allies, like you are on your show. Today, in that clip from your Patreon thing, you included gender nonconforming individuals and people who have rights. And even those small linguistic inclusions by cis people are so important for making trans people feel welcome and safe. And one of the things that I've always appreciated about your show is that I've never felt rejected or the butt of the joke because of my identity or that my issues weren't taken seriously. And I just wanted to thank you for that because it's really wonderful what you're doing. And I personally would love to hear more of your, more detail of your story, of how you got from where you were in the past to where you are now. But yeah, my intention was to keep this message kind of short. I'm sorry that I went sort of long. Love the show. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.
You know, I really, really, honestly appreciate that voicemail. I'm thankful for everyone who called in, but this voicemail means a lot to me because, I mean, I grew up in the Black community. I grew up almost as much in the church as I did, not, I want to say on the streets. That's not entirely accurate. I walked through the hood. I used to walk through the hood every day to get home. I didn't live in the hood, but I had to walk through the hood to get home and to get to my dad's church. And so I had every possible version of homophobia and transphobia that comes from the Black community. I had it from the church. I had it from just being like, a young kid where everyone, like, if you dressed a certain kind of way or if you weren't a certain type of tough, then you were called the F word. So, we got it from every corner. And it wasn't until I was in my late 20s, quite honestly with you, one thing, here's something consistent that you should know about Black folks, though. While, and this is not categorical, right? We have some really shitty people who are Black. But for the most part, those of us who are Black, who even though we may have grown up to be conservative through our religion, and this bears out in the data, that we are not advocates for discrimination against the LGBTQ community. The majority of us do not support any type of discrimination against the LGBTQ community. We just have our religious beliefs, right? And so I say that in context of me growing up, even though it took me to my late 20s to come to full circle, it was never a part of me to actively try to, deny the LGBTQ community their rights, right? You'll never find anything about me making a donation to, to some focus on the family, right? But there's still the problem of your own personal bigotry. And so this is where you can actually address the fact that some of us, while we may never in our personal lives be actively bigoted, right, or participate in the structural bigotry, right? We may not be donating to hate groups, but still in our personal conversations and in our personal relationships, we still carry that bigotry and that homophobia and that xenophobia or whatever it is that we're dealing with. And so it was in my late 20s that I was able to actually sit down and had to ask myself, how is it that I have these bigoted, or I didn't consider it bigoted at the time. Like, how is it that I can be against the LGBTQ community, but still stand in solidarity with them when it comes time to vote? So I had to actually put a mirror up to myself and say, okay, what is it that makes this hypocrisy okay? And it just took me some soul searching and some time, to really come full circle. Now, the last part of my growth really was the trans community. And I just want to just put some specific names out here. Kevin, M from Florida, my friend, you should know who you are. I don't have to say your last name. And Pamela, the goddess Pamela, the mother of the Progressive Army. The two of them, honestly, before I even started my show, the two of them hammered me. They hammered me to face my transphobia, and they were relentless to the point where I couldn't stand them. I could not stand the two of you constantly showing me where I was wrong, because that's just never fun. But they did, and I'm grateful that they did, because it's, if you are a good person, which I am, right, you cannot tolerate the hypocrisy within yourself, and you're going to confront it. You're going to confront it. You're not going to lie yourself or lie around it, right? And I think that could be just a deciding factor between good people and not good people. People who look at themselves in the mirror and change the things that they don't like instead of just trying to convince them that they're okay, that all these flaws are okay. So special thanks if you want to understand like my complete journey. I special thanks to Kevin and Pamela, who really would not let me go until I saw the error in my ways and my viewpoints towards my bigoted viewpoints towards the trans community. Ultimately, this will be the last thing I'll say for today. Ultimately, it comes down to this, and this is what I came to realize after they brutally accosted me for probably a year about my transphobia. I realized in America, everyone just wants to be free to live their life the way they so choose. We want to be free to not have to live our lives based on someone else's definition of traditional, right? Someone else's definition of traditional should not be the standard by which we all have to live. Someone else's definition of traditional marriage should not be the standard by which we all should live. Someone's idea of gender norms, of how a man should look and act. No one else should have to live by that but that person. If you want to live according to gender norms, then by all means do that. If you want to raise your family that way, then within reason, without you being belligerent and damaging your children, then fine. You can raise your family however you want to raise your family. But where we are concerned is how your beliefs hurt other people. And I am a firm advocate, and this is to my dying breath, that every person in this country should be able to live as they see fit, without regard to anyone else's definitions of tradition or beliefs or religion or anything that they want to impose on you. We should be able to live as free as we possibly can be without infringing on someone else's freedoms. This is not a libertarian idea. Libertarians like to act like that's what they really believe, but that's not what they really believe. No, it is a progressive idea that everyone should be as free as they possibly can without infringing on the rights of other people. That's it. And because of that, it is so much. It is so freeing. It is so. I don't have to. I know I don't have to be concerned about what somebody else does. I just want that somebody else to be happy. I don't have to be concerned and worry myself about how someone lives their life, so long as the life that they're living is happy and fulfilling. Because ultimately, here's the last thing. I keep saying it's the last thing, but this is really important to me. Do you know how difficult it is to be happy with yourself? Just to be happy with yourself. Like there's a saying that I always grew up on, and I quote it all the time: "Noce te ipsum," Latin for "know thyself." And the reality of it is, it's like, what do you do when you've gotten to know yourself so much that when you look in the mirror, you don't like what you see? This could be physical, this could be emotional, this could just be psychological. You look in the mirror and you don't like yourself. It is so difficult to actually be at peace with who you are that anybody who finds that real peace, I don't care what they had to do to find that peace. I don't care if they had to transition. I don't care if they had whatever, if they had to seek a new religion. Whatever. It's none of my business. I just know how difficult it is to like yourself. And so ultimately, the only concern I have about anyone else, it's not what they're doing in their bedroom. It's not what they're doing with their body. It's not what they're doing with their life. It's whether or not they are happy. That's it. All right, folks. Thanks for hanging out with me. See you next time. Peace.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.